The man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yes, 8 minutes after 8. How are you doing? Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. And what's happening tonight, Ndu?
Tonight, Africa United is playing, and you want to see the boys, the Les Bleus, as they're known, want to come out and do some fantastic stuff. And you ask us, so how are we going to watch this? Well, this is the way.
Right.
Log on to www.showmax.com. You can download the app on your phone. It's the Google Play Store or Apple App Store. And you can then register, pay, and watch. And I'm not talking about just recorded stuff. I'm talking about live matches that you can watch the actual match played out today or at your own comfort on your mobile phone, wherever it is that you may be, on your mobile phone for just 500 bob. You can watch the semi-finals of the Euro, which are happening tonight, and then into the final, which happens later on into the weekend. So it's good stuff, man. Showmax.com is Africa's upgraded streaming platform.
Very, very, very good. Very good. Let me tell you about Jubilee Insurance. You know, we've been talking about Jubilee Insurance and Jubilee Health Insurance. If you're thinking good health insurance, think Jubilee. And we've been talking about the J-Care. We talked about others. Today, we're also talking about the premium international coverage. For those who need premium international health coverage, Jubilee Health Insurance offers the care and the health plan in partnership with the Henna Group and underwritten by Allianz. This plan provides coverage limits of up to 4.5 million US dollars. 4.5 million US. You said that's about 600 million. Yeah? Hey. A cover of up to 4.5 million US dollars and access to global healthcare in over 183 countries. It's perfect for those who travel frequently or those who require global medical support. And it's incredibly comprehensive, covering pre-existing conditions up to the full cover limit. You also have flexible payment options, 24/7 emergency evacuation assistance and repatriation services for those who are seeking top-tier global health coverage. Don't go anywhere else. Go to jubileeinsurance.com. Of course, one of those people is our next guest, Jimmy Wanjigi. 4.5 million USD health cover. It's better than
4.5. That's huge.
It's huge, right?
Huge.
Just talk to Jubilee Health Insurance and you'll be sorted.
That is huge.
They have a cover for me and they have a cover for you. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So how do you talk to Jubilee Health Insurance? Go to their website. That's jubileeinsurance.com, or you can call them. And City, what's the number? 07?
0709
Right.
949 000.
0709 949 000.
Yes.
Jimmy's PA has taken that number. He'll just tell the PA, call Jubilee. Tell them I want to talk to them. They'll come.
Asante, Eric.
Good morning, Jimmy.
Very good morning, Eric.
Good to have you here.
And thank
We
you.
must begin by offering our condolences to you and your family
Thank you
on the
very
passing
much.
of your father.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Really
Maina
appreciate
Wanjigi
it. Yes.
served this country diligently for
Yes,
many
he
years.
did. Yes, he did. I said many times during the ceremony that it was a celebration. Because if there's one man that lived God's purpose for him in this world, it was him. And we say that purpose is to make heaven here on earth. And I can tell you did that for very many people.
Right.
So we are very happy we celebrate his life.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much, Eric.
Karibu sana.
Yeah.
Ndu,
Yes.
tell Jimmy about Roy Sambu.
You know Roy Sambu?
Yes, I know Roy Sambu. The area, yes.
Yeah. So now in the area, at the roundabout, is the Jewel Plaza. And at Jewel Plaza, the Aga Khan University Hospital has just established the Roy Sambu Specialty Care Center because there's a belief, which I agree with, that you shouldn't have to travel too far from where you work or where you live to be able to access medical care. And it's world-class medical care at this center. We're talking about day surgery, minor surgery. We're talking about chemotherapy, dialysis, endoscopy, all these things delivered by experts from surgeons to gastroenterologists, oncologists, etc., etc. And it's right where folks live and work because healthcare universally is here and now.
Very good. In Roy Sambu.
Yes.
Oh,
Same quality of Aga Khan University Hospital.
really?
Yep.
That's not far from my home.
You see?
That's interesting.
You are now covered on both sides of the home. You can go either to the main facility
Yes.
or you can go to the Roy Sambu
Yes.
Specialty
Yes.
Center.
Very nice. Thank you.
City, the day's proverb. And today we've been told the proverbs for this week are from...
I am not.
Please,
come
No. You see all these noises. We had a guest just before you who pronounced his name as it should be pronounced.
Okay, say the one for the P.
I am not going to try. I am not afraid to embarrass myself, but this is a completely different level of embarrassment.
Okay, say it in Kenyanese.
Okay.
And then Ndu will say it
Kenyanese.
in
Yes, it's Kenyanese. You pronounce it syllable by syllable. Sao Tome Principe.
Sao Tome Principe.
That's yes, it's an island nation in Central Africa. Now they keep saying, "What do you mean island nation in Central Africa?" That's exactly where it is.
It's an island in the central of Africa.
You know,
Over
I
there.
remember that in
no,
geography.
Jimmy. You know these natives are very interesting. Whenever you talk about Seychelles, it's an island nation, and you say it's in East Africa. So same thing. Yes, it's not. I think you point made.
Yes.
You pronounce Sao Tome Principe as it should be pronounced.
So what he said, what the Portuguese would say is Sao Tome e Principe.
See?
That's not Kenyanese.
No, that's Portuguese.
Portuguese.
The proverb, then, City?
Yes. He who has a wound in the mouth knows that blood is salty.
He who has a wound in the mouth knows that blood is salty.
Yes.
That's a good one. That is a good one. He who has a wound in the mouth knows that blood is salty.
Yes.
So one has tasted blood.
Yes, you have. That's how you know it is salty.
What do you think it means?
That you know the taste of blood.
Yes. You know, usually the sort of wound you have in your mouth, if it's not an ulcer, it's something that has been inflicted by, should we say, some trauma. Okay.
Yes.
And so the injury is what produces the blood.
Yes.
So it's in your mouth. There's no choice. You're going to
There's
taste
no
it.
choice.
You're going to taste it.
So you know the taste of blood
Yes, you do.
and that it is salty.
Yes.
So it has a cost.
It definitely has a cost. You don't taste blood in your mouth just because it's not orange juice.
It's cause of a reason.
Yes, exactly.
An injury.
Yes, it is.
So Eric, what do you think it is?
No, Jimmy.
You see what you're doing.
That's not how it works.
Nice try.
It's okay. Take some time. In the next hour, we'll ask
come
you
back to
again.
Yes.
Same question.
Sour.
What do you think it means, right?
Sour.
So, Jimmy, let's begin by just getting your feeling and reaction to what's happened in the country in the last 3 or so weeks.
Well, firstly, let me express my heartfelt condolences to the soldiers of the new revolution that have fallen. They are heroes, and one day they shall be given their rightful commendations with a new government. They are heroes of this republic, and they shall and must be treated as such. I congratulate the branding of Gen Z and the Gen Z revolution. I think a few months ago we had predicted this. Late last year we had predicted it. It has come to pass, and we congratulate them. And for those who imagine that it is over, I think they are living in dreamland. This is something now that's very deep in the soul of that generation, who are 70% of the Republic of Kenya. And all they are doing, I don't know why people are so anxious. All they are doing is embedded in the constitution of this land. Article 1 is very clear. The people exercise their power directly or indirectly. Article 2 also says the people have the right to call it back. They are the ones who protect the constitution of this country. When you saw that young man in parliament, in the chamber, say very loudly, "Mr. Speaker, sir, where are you?" to Mefika, they had taken back Parliament. The people had exercised their sovereign right and taken back Parliament. That entity today, I can tell you, completely lacks legitimacy. Completely lacks legitimacy.
What does that mean?
In other words, who believes anything that party can do, that house can do anymore? It is a third arm of government. Who will believe it? It went against the people, right? The people went and took back power, and even the president threw it under a bus 2 days later, so that the people don't go and take State House. Because you would have seen, as you've seen in other nations, like Sri Lanka, where the president, where Wananchi are jumping on the president's mattress in his palace. You'd have seen that probably that Thursday. So the people are exercising their constitutional right to take back power under Article 1 and 2 of this constitution. And I commend them. My gosh, it is fantastic to see. And I continually encourage them to do that.
To do what?
To do what they are doing. Because what they are doing is taking back power. You see, we have had a policy, I think, framework, I would like to call it, ever since the colonialist was here. That somehow, where you are appointed, if you have a job, you are the boss. People have never understood that it's the people that are the bosses. And that the people are your protection. And the people can take it back. What has never been clearly defined in that constitution is how the sovereign takes back their power. You're now seeing it on the streets. The others who say it should be a referendum. The others who say all sorts of things. But this is now a demonstration of the people taking back their power. And my assessment, because I think it is beyond the finance bill. The bill was rejected, but the pain continues. There was already pain. What people did not want is more pain. All right? So here we have a situation where, by all assessments, the pain is going to continue. It is not going to decrease. The president, I think, has talked enough about that too, saying that now economically we are going 2 years back. So he's saying the pain is going to continue, if not get worse. So if that is your script and your prescription, if that is what you foresee, why do you want to remain in office? So you say, hallelujah, I give up. I cannot handle this thing. I have no solution for Kenyans. Kama kuna wengine ambao wanaweza fanya hii kazi, karibuni.
Do you think, Jimmy, I mean, just from what we're seeing here, I mean, it's clear that certain things have happened as a result of this. I mean, the first one, very clear, was that the president actually then declined to assent to the finance
He only
bill.
did that to save in the State House.
So now that's the question.
So it's nothing else.
Can we see that there is then a genuine desire to go for good governance?
Is it a
because of-
governance issue?
Is because
It's not a governance issue.
Hang on, Jimmy. So look, this is the thing. There's so many things that are being asked for today. Members of Parliament be recalled. Cabinet secretaries get out of office because you people have been joking and eating our money. It goes across board that we should have a debt audit. Let us know exactly which is one thing that you've been calling for the longest time. So many things are being asked for, and then we see certain actions being taken. Number one, whether we want to say that it was for fear or for good conscience, the finance bill was in actuality rejected. We see that today an IEBC act will then be signed into law. We see certain things happening that would be direct demands of this particular movement.
I think.
Does it matter if there's a desire to have them done, or fear that you'll be hounded out of office if you don't?
When I was last here, I recall saying that the prescription going forward is more and more economic pain. And I want to use the words of a famous political lobbyist and advisor called James Carvell. He was a big campaigner for Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was then running against the first George Bush 1. And people are asking, George Bush seems to have done quite a bit in terms of his worldwide the US vis-a-vis the world. So what was the problem? Why were people rejecting him so much? And James Carville said, it's the economy, stupid, it's the economy. It's the economy, stupid, it's the economy. No, this is not about governance and pure simple things. You think now because IBC is going to be put, the revolution feeling is gone? You think the Ruto must go slogan will go because he has done IBC? No. It's the economy. It's the economy. It's the economy. And that's one thing you must all digest. The pain going forward is even worse. So he is responsible for this bad economy, and Kenyans are not going to take it. It doesn't matter whether he puts IABC, doesn't matter whether he cuts his expenses. In fact, they are going to get a whole issue here now as what is the catalyst to development.
So you say
because you see, economically, he has two twin evils, which is the worst thing you can ever have in an economy. Any economist will tell you. The twin evils of inflation and recession. So, for example, he says prices were high the other day for things have come down.
Yeah.
Simple monetary tools, monetary policy tools. All you do, right, is simply remove liquidity from the market. So central bank asks bank to increase their cash ratio, interest rates go up, right? You remove liquidity. So goods start looking for where there is money. What is the price level? So they start coming down. But what you get is that we all start saying we don't have money in our pockets, right? And if we are running companies, we can't pay wages. Overdrafts are too expensive. Getting a loan is too expensive to expand your business. So you fast-paced recession. We're already going through recession. Now you really fast-pace it. If you allow liquidity, you have a high cost of goods, right? And you may slow down recession. But in this case, you will not, right? The only tool he has, right, to stop these two twin evils is to reduce taxation. And he cannot reduce taxation because, as per the figures I've seen this morning on how much KRA has received, almost 80%, is 77.5, almost 80% of that taxation is gone to one item called debt. And it's not going to decrease this following year. 2025 is increasing. 2026 is increasing. 2027 is increasing. So, my friend, he does not have a solution. And since he doesn't have a solution, and he said, I don't know how he draws his figures, says, I'm going to borrow another 1 trillion. Who has given him permission to borrow another 1 trillion? Is that in the budget? Where is this permission? He just draws figures. You mean he decides as he wishes? To do what? Okay? To do what?
If I were to believe what you've said, that he doesn't have a solution, does that mean that no solution exists?
No, there is a solution, but he can't make it. It's too painful for him. It's too painful for him. The man actually is going to fail dismally before your eyes. The solution here, as we've been saying for 2 years, is to address debt. And he has two choices. He's tried over taxation, it has failed. He's tried over borrowing, it has failed. This year he has borrowed 1.8 trillion. 1.8 trillion when Parliament only passed 351 billion. All right? This man has only got two choices: to default on this debt, and I say specifically that this debt is illegal and we should be calling it odious. Remove it from our books, remove it from pain that we are facing every day. But he cannot do that.
Why?
Because he is partly responsible. He was in government when this odious debt was taken from 2013. And there are two things that started this process. You see, many people are not understanding that our Constitution 2010 and the Public Finance Management Act brought in financial controls. The Constitution has a whole chapter on public finance management. Now, this is different to economics. This is public finance management. There are many economists who talk, but they do not know public finance management. It is anchored in our laws. It is here in our Constitution. And if you read it, The summation is that these are controls on our money. Because before that, it was very amorphous in something called financial controls and regulations before the new constitution. These are controls, the do's and don'ts. You can do this, you can't do this. All right? Very simple. And if you deviate from law, are you not called a criminal? It's black and white. There's no gray area. So these are controls. And the foundation of the malfeasance of ODS debt started in 2013 when the Uhuru Ruto government introduced something called Supplementary 3. It's the first time it has ever happened. Supplementary 2, sorry, not 3. Supplementary 2. Right? That budget can have, 1, 2 supplementaries. And in that supplementary 2, they introduced something that has never been done before. New projects. New projects. If you read the article in the Constitution on supplementary, it is purely and simply an extension of money no more than 10% of the original budget. In other words, if you had costed in the budget a project for a road that, let us say, was 100 million shillings, and you found, because of some circumstances, costs went up, you, as the ministry, presented a proposal to be taken to Parliament in a supplementary to increase the costing of that project of no more than 10%. So 110 million. That is what the supplementary budget is supposed to be. But here in supplementary 2, they introduce whole new projects, like a whole new budget.
From 0 to 100.
From 0 to 100. Okay? That was the first. The second, because you must understand intent. The second was that they introduced amendments to the consolidated fund. The consolidated fund in the Constitution says it is the only account that all revenues must be received and expended. One account is called 10,3987. Okay?
That's the account number.
That's the account number. One account. Right? The Constitution is very explicit. And the only other alternative is if they are funds that have been created by Parliament, such as Petroleum Levy Fund. Right? Which can have other accounts.
Another account. Okay.
Now, what they purported to do, and this bill was presented by the majority leader at the time, a bill sanctioned by the Treasury and the Attorney General at the time. They purported to amend the Constitution on consolidated fund and create in the PFM law, an act of Parliament, different accounts, different reasons why the Treasury can open different accounts. How do you amend the Constitution?
How did they do
Through
that?
an act of Parliament.
How did they do that?
That's what they did.
So there was a PFM Amendment Act
Yes.
that was taken to Parliament.
Yes.
What did it amend?
It amended that you do not have to have one account under which proceeds are received.
So you can have consolidated A and consolidated B, or
You can have however
whatever
myriad
you
of
want.
accounts.
and
In
none,
fact,
and none of
what
them
is
will
so
be
interesting,
consolidated.
it actually said that you can have accounts that go to the extent. I'll give you an example. Disbursements directly to suppliers. In the case of external loans or external government securities, pre-negotiated expenses solely for borrowing. It can be paid to fees, commissions, expenses, financial arrangers directly, managers, book runners, fiscal agents, trustees, paying agents, exchange agents, information agents, syndicated agents, clearing systems, listing agents, stock exchanges, rating agencies, and other expenses. In other words, money does not have to come to the consolidated fund.
It can go to these other accounts.
It
It
can
can
be
just go
paid
to
out.
any paid out how it wants. without controller of budget's approval. That's what it means.
Okay.
Because the controller budget deals with the consolidated account.
Let me see if I get this right. So what you're saying is before this amendment, there's the account called the consolidated fund.
Yes.
And all monies, even if you go and borrow money from China Exim Bank, from AFDB, from the Eurobond, from wherever, World Bank, IMF, it comes here and then it leaves here to go now to the budgeted
that is the law
of expenditure.
That is the law.
And then the amendment said that the money it can be paid out before it gets into the consolidated fund.
Yes.
So we can get money from, let's say, Jimmy Wanjigi and associates lending money to the government of Kenya through whatever agreement. The money can go into Ndu account and pay supplier Eric.
Yes.
Without necessarily getting first into the consolidated
account. Correct.
I see.
And in the consolidated account, the controller budget, right, oversees the implementation of the budget. So if she is to approve any removal of funds, all right, it has to be a line item on the budget. So they avoided her signature.
Okay, you'll tell us then if you have information on this kind of transactions. But let's take a break then. It's 26 minutes to 9. Jimmy Wanjigi is our guest this morning. We've been calling you very many things. But you're party leader, Safina.
No, I'm not party leader, Safina. I was the presidential aspirant for Safina. The party leader of Safina is Paul Muite.
It's still Paul Muite.
It's still Paul Muite. We have not had elections yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Presidential aspirant Safina in the last election. Businessman, and many people are calling you to the People's Finance Minister. We are talking about the current state of affairs, and we'll gravitate this conversation towards a debt audit. You've been calling for a debt audit. The president has responded, and he has initiated a move that will start auditing this debt. You'll tell us what you think about that.
Yeah.
Back shortly.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your
Nivea Pearl and Beauty Deodorant with natural pearl extracts and avocado oils for soft, smooth, and beautiful underarms. The perfect balance of 48-hour protection and care with delicate fragrances. Feel the power of pearls. Nivea Pearl and Beauty for soft, smooth, and beautiful underarms. Try our new Pearl and Beauty Black Pearl for smooth and perfumed underarms.
Habari njema, mchezo mpya kushinda hela umewasili. Tazama Utuzwe ni mchezo rahisi na njia haraka ya kushinda hela ukitumia simu yako. Kuwa mmoja wa mamia ya washindi kila siku. Jishindie kuanzia shilingi 20,000. Ni rahisi. Deposit kuanzia shilingi 20 hadi 99 kwenye paybill number 145656. Account number KTN. Shinda sasa hivi. Draws na washindi kila hour. Kumbuka, deposit kuanzia 20 bob hadi 99 bob kwa paybill number 145656. Account number KTN. Na unaweza kujishindia hadi 1,300.
Let's do this.
Sasa mimi naweza wapi na masufuria? Si uite wanaume waweza kukusaidia.
Kumbe ndo kwa mjogi.
Nigonge uniue baba, siona mimi sikufai.
Wewe mamangu.
Aibu.
Kipare bila pesa kidonda. Cheki dem yako na kutoka. Wananitanga Maradona. Jumu wakata nikisonga. Usipandishe mrembo boda boda.
Ndio sikia mwisho tamuona. Na umwaka nina habari.
Niulize kile niliona.
Sio habari tu bali ni habari za News 2.0. Kila Friday kuanzia saa 4 usiku mpaka saa 6 ni burudani. Sherehe, shangwe, story kibao, keti nasi. We Taangalia habari za News 2.0. Baba, time is up, time is up, time is up.
Na spendi mapicha Kwai bila filter Bawa mani na feature Bien wanga mziza
Mr. DJ mziki tunangoja, mchelewa mziki tunangoja.
Umetuweka na mziki inashika kutoka kwa kanisa na paka kila boda.
Uko kwa Yesu ni full vibe, vibe. Uko kwa Yesu ni full vibe, vibe.
Uko kwa Yesu ni full vibe, vibe, vibe. I say together. Vibe, 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 vibe.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
22 minutes to 9, our conversation continues. Jimmy Wanjigi is in the house. As we were taking the break, you were saying, all right, so some of these things that were happening then, which led to, for example, amendment to the PFM Act that says you can now make out payments without necessarily having to come through the consolidated fund. What's the effect of that?
Please call it illegal amendments to the Constitution through the PFM Act. Because it's you cannot amend the Constitution through an act of parliament.
For something to be called unconstitutional, that's a court of law that has done that.
But that is exactly
this?
what they have done.
What?
Amend that section of Article 206 of the Constitution, which reads as follows. There is established the consolidated fund.
Okay.
Into which shall be paid all money raised or received by or on behalf of the national government, except that A is reasonably excluded from the fund by an act of parliament and payable to another public fund established for a specific purpose. That is now like petroleum levy fund. Okay? Or B, may under an act of parliament be retained by the state organ that received it for the purpose of defraying the expenses of a state organ. That's A&E.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
2 reasons.
Yep.
Now, in 2014, they amended to add in the PFM Act C and D. Remember I said A, B? Then in PFM, they add C and D. Which reads as following. Disbursed directly to the suppliers where the loan is a government-to-government loan and is raised for the purpose of financing goods and services provided by a supplier outside Kenya. That becomes C. And D, this is in PFM, take note.
Yep.
And D, in the case of an external loan or external government security applied, in part, to pay at closing pre-negotiated expenses, all right, associated solely and exhaustively with the borrowing, including but not limited to the fees, commissions, expenses of lenders, financial arrangers, managers, book runners, fiscal agents, trustees, paying agents, exchange and information agents, syndicated agents, clearing systems, listing agents, stock exchanges, rating agencies, and other expenses of a similar nature arising from the external loan or external government security.
Okay.
C and D were added
in the amended PFM Act.
In the PFM Act.
Okay.
And they do not exist in the Constitution.
Okay. What was the effect of that?
The effect of that is that you now avoid the consolidated fund.
Okay.
For the receipt of funds.
Okay.
And the disbursement of funds.
Okay.
And once you do that, you avoid the budget because there's no item that can be removed from the consolidated fund that is not in the budget. And the budget is the appropriations bill, which is passed by Parliament, which has line items. Okay? This is for salaries. This is for a development project called a road in Kitui. Okay? So on and so forth.
So, Jimmy, I almost hear you saying then that the creation of these accounts outside of the consolidated fund account have been done deliberately in order to avoid whatever kind of budget query would be made on the account if funds were dispersed from it for whatever reason.
It was the foundation of a fraud.
Okay.
This is how you do fraud.
But this is a law in the Republic
What do you mean
of
it's
Kenya.
a law?
Hold on. It
is not a law.
It's an act of parliament, Jimmy.
No, it is
an
not
act
a
of
law.
Parliament is law.
I'm sorry. You cannot call an illegal law a law.
Nobody has declared it illegal.
Let me ask.
No competent authority, Jimmy, has declared
But
it
my
illegal.
friend,
Let's deal.
I have read for you the Constitution of Kenya.
You've read the Act.
I've read the Constitution of Kenya.
And the PFM.
Under Article 206.
Yes.
That's the Constitution of Kenya.
Yes.
And it says, as I put, one, please understand this. There is established a consolidated fund into which shall be paid all money raised or received by and on behalf of the national government, except A, if there is a fund through an act of parliament, like petroleum levy fund.
Can I go to my question?
B, full stop. A and E.
Can I go to my question?
Yes.
Okay. So the PFM Act is amended and introduces C and D. Okay? Does the Auditor General have access to C and D? Can the Office of the Auditor General also audit money paid out through C and D, like you read? These are monies that are paid, agents, fees, arrangers. If you've arranged for Kenya to get some financing,
that list is
and all so on and so forth. Does the Auditor General have visibility into those payments?
They have no visibility into these payments, but they have visibility into the debt payments commensurate to any of this through the consolidated fund. Because all debt payments are made from the consolidated fund. So you can pay these how you want, but they are booked in the consolidated fund as a debt. Right? And they are paid out as a debt.
And yet the money.
So the controller of budget should, yes?
The monies received are not registered in the consolidated account.
Yes.
There's an act that brought into being C and D.
Yes.
Now, you say it is illegal.
Yes.
Before we carry on, I just want you to explain, walk us through this thing. Why is it illegal?
Why is what illegal?
The act that enabled, the amendment that enabled C and D to actually exist.
Because you cannot amend the Constitution of Kenya through an act of parliament.
How do you amend the Constitution of Kenya?
Through a constitutional amendment, which needs 2/3 of the House to pass.
And we didn't see that happen?
No. They did not do that. What they did was amend the Constitution of Kenya through an act of parliament, which simply needs a majority.
Majority can be one.
Can be one.
So the illegality...
And it does not even have a limitation of how many there. There could have been 40 or 50. What's a quorum? 60 in the House? And that's all they did.
Have a quorum?
Yes, have a quorum and pass it. And have a majority from that quorum. Yes. Whereas with a constitutional amendment, you have to have a constitutional majority in that House. First and foremost, numbers. And then you need a majority, 2/3. 2/3 majority to pass it.
And that didn't happen.
That did not happen. So the minute you're adding C and D, where the Constitution stops at B, Constitution already has A and B. How do you add C and D as an extension of the Constitution through Public Finance Management Act? This is criminality of the highest order.
And this was enacted in the...
I can tell you that. And I'll stand up anywhere. And anybody who passed this was part of delivering it is a criminal.
Jimmy, my pushback to you will remain until and unless you go to court.
No, my
and
friend.
the court declares...
This is simple logic.
Yeah, it's logic, yes.
It's simple logic.
But there's a way even our constitution says what shall declare something illogical and illegal. And this is a court of law.
There is enough precedence. Eric,
it has not
there is enough precedence on this.
This law.
This has been attempted
These
in very many things.
of the law have not been declared unconstitutional.
No, but
that's true.
I will push back on you.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, if the Constitution reads A and B.
A says, except money that A is reasonably excluded from the fund by an act of parliament and payable into another public fund established for a specific purpose.
Yes.
Now, C is a specific purpose. D is a specific purpose.
No.
But let's move on. I want
C
to come
are
back.
not funds. C and D are not funds. They're not funds. C and D are not funds.
Okay.
So let's be very clear here. For example, they created the housing fund the other day. One of the reasons the housing levy was knocked down right? It's because there was no collection
for
this item.
There was the established fund
Yes,
in law.
no established fund. So they
Yes.
created a fund.
Yes.
So that fund, right, can avoid the consolidated fund. It is part of A, the housing fund. It is part of A. You cannot have an addition to the Constitution through a Public Finance Management Act. What I'm saying is that it's so ridiculous and so obvious. Even, I'm sorry, you cannot defend it, Eric. You can't even say we need to go to court. I mean, this is obvious. Anyone can go to court.
Article 2062. Money may be withdrawn, because this is now C&D is about withdrawal, right? Money may be withdrawn from the consolidated fund.
You're now talking about withdrawn.
Yes. See, that's what you're saying. The payments. This is not a fund coming into the money payment to agents and arrangers. Money may be withdrawn in accordance with Article 222 or 223 or C as a charge against the fund as authorized by this Constitution or an Act of Parliament. The truth is, it has to come out of the fund.
It has to come out from
The consolidated fund.
Correct.
Okay.
Because that's where it's received.
Now, you are explaining the effect of establishing this C&D and what then happened and how that would lead to, how that has led to the trouble that we are in right now. So give us with practical examples. So for instance,
that's very good.
Where did the money go without coming into this, and the controller of budget was sidestepped, and the Auditor General was not able to then establish exactly who these ones are?
So I have with me a special audit report by the Auditor General on the proceeds and utilization of the Eurobond. All right?
Yes.
Now, it's a very interesting section here, which talks about receipt. Receipt of this money. All right? Very interesting. So, just to remind our viewers, the Eurobond that was floated 10 years ago that you saw William Ruto trying to refinance to pay the other day was taken in 2014, 10 years ago. And the first ticket was $2 billion through JP Morgan Chase, and then tap sales of about 815 the end of that year through Citibank. So the Auditor General does a report because we had all made a lot of noise at the time about it. And he says that when it comes to receipts, the first Eurobond, right, was received, the first payment of Eurobond, there was $2 billion from JP Morgan Chase. $1 billion proceeds, $604 million went to pay a syndicated loan that had been taken by the Kibaki regime. And that went straight overseas to pay that syndicated loan. I remember it was Barclays Bank.
Okay.
It went straight from.
It did not go through the consolidated fund.
From
JP Morgan Chase straight to.
Okay.
And then he says the balance of that, $395 million, equivalent at the time to 34 billion shillings, was sent directly to the consolidated fund account, 10,3987. All right? That's a consolidated account.
The Kenyan consolidated account.
Yes, in CBK.
Okay.
It is called a check account number 1, 10,3987. All right? That was on July the 3rd, 2014. Okay? Now, we questioned what happened to the second $1 billion. We asked, where is that $1 billion? They said, oh, they kept it until September.
Jim, just hold on.
Who said?
Excuse me. Did we acknowledge receipt of that money?
Now, that's a very good question. The 395.
No, the 395.
The 395.
The balance of the 1 billion.
Thank you very much for reminding me about that. There was complete acknowledgement of the receipt of that money. In fact, we have letters from CBK, and I have them here with me. that even notify the Treasury of receipt of that money, right, through a SWIFT transfer, tabulating its transfer, number one. Number two, a letter from CBK to the Treasury talking about the exchange rate they have used to transfer that money from dollars to Kenya shillings.
Okay.
Right? Signed by officials from CBK. Now, on the 395. Then we asked, and at the time we were making a lot of noise about Eurobond. Raila Odinga had made some noise and so on. We asked, what happened to this other one of 1 billion from JP Morgan Chase? According to the Auditor General's report, he says that on the 10th of September, the central bank received proceeds of 999, almost $1 billion, right, into sovereign bond account number. Yes, CT. Now they've created a new account called sovereign account number 8,212,764.
This is called a sovereign bond account.
Sovereign bond account 8,212.
Domiciled in the central bank.
Yes.
Okay.
And received this 999 billion.
Yes. Now,
A million.
now on this
Kenya
particular
shillings
amount,
billion.
yes, $1 billion.
Yes, Kenya shillings 999 billion, right?
Yeah, no, it was actually equivalent to about 88 billion shillings. at the
Shillings,
time.
okay, all right. At that time.
At that time.
Okay.
Now, on this one, the SWIFT transfer that was provided is redacted.
Okay.
It does not show
source.
into. It shows source exit from JP Morgan Chase, but it does not show. The rest is all blackened out.
What is
Right?
the rest?
In other words, you know, a SWIFT transfer shows how it moves from one bank
To the other.
Intermediary.
intermediary
and all of these, yes.
right up to
Final.
deposit to
Yes.
which account?
And funds.
Yes, deposited to
Yes.
this account.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Here it shows an exit from JP Morgan, and then the rest of the SWIFT is blackened out. We have the copy. It is completely redacted.
Okay.
Yes, no, you look surprised, but it is blackened.
Okay.
And this was provided by Rotich, the minister at the time. It is completely blackened.
What would be the reason to redact it?
Even the
Now,
final account?
that is a big question.
Yes.
Now, on this one, to add to CT's question, there is no communication that was provided that showed central bank writing to the Treasury saying we are in receipt of these funds. That one does not exist. There is no communication where central bank is writing to Treasury, say we have used this particular exchange rate and debited your account so much either.
Okay. This account.